Welcome to today's session from Bhagavad Gita as it is. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Srila Prabhupada. We are on the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita and we have covered verses up to verses 10 so far of last chapter, chapter 18, the perfection of renunciation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate ke. Yat kripatamam bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitaneshwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. Verse 11. Nahi deha bhrita shakyam tyaktum karmane sheshatah yastu karma phalatyagi satyagitya bhidhiyate. It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of actions is called one who has truly renounced. Verse 12. Anishtamishtam mishram cha trividham karmanah phalam bhavatya tyaginam pretya natu sannyasinam kvachit. For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death, but those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy. Verse 13. Panchayatani mahabaho karanani nibodhame sankhya kritante proktani siddhaye sarva karmanam. O mighty armed Arjun, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha prithak vidham vividhascha prithak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. The place of action, that is the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. Verse 15. Sharirvangam mano bhiryat karma prarabhate narah nyayam ch va viparitam va panchayata tasya hetavah. Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind or speech is caused by these 5 factors. Verse 16. Tatraivam sati kartar matmanam kevalam tu yaha pashyatya krita buddhitvan sa pashyati durmatihi. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. Verse 17. Yasya naham krito bhavo buddhiryasya nalipyate Hatvapi sa imalam lokan hantina nibadhyate. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. Verse 18. Jnanam gyayam parigyata trividha karma chodana karanam karma karteti trividha karma sangraha. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the 3 factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the 3 constituents of action. Verse 19. Jnanam karam cha karta cha tridhaiva guna bhedatah prochyate guna sankhyane yatha vachrinu. According to the 3 different modes of material nature, there are 3 kinds of knowledge, action and performer of action. Now hear them from me. Verse 20. Sarva bhuteshu ye naikam bhavam vyayamikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajjnanam vidhi satvikam. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. So verses 1 to 18 or 17 are all about the Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, first 12 verses are about Karma Yoga. Verses 13 to 17 are about the Gyan of a Karma Yogi and the 5 factors of action. Then the Gyan of a Karma Yogi from there onwards. Up to verse 40 will carry on. So in verse 11, Bhagwan is saying that it is impossible for any embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced. So the real Tyagi or the real renounced person is the one who has given up the fruits of his actions. Bhagavad Gita never tells us to give up the work at any time or any stage of our life. We cannot do that. But when we are working for Krishna and not enjoying the results ourselves, and we are offering everything to Krishna, Om Tat Sat, these 3 words, then actually we will be called renouncer. Or in a renounced, truly renounced will be, we can say that we are truly renounced then. Verse 12, Bhagwan is saying, for one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. For those who are in renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy. So a person who is living his life in Krishna consciousness, is acting in knowledge, and who has perfectly understood his relationship with Krishna, is always liberated, that he understands that his role is of a servant of the Lord. So he does not have to enjoy or suffer any results of his actions after death. Bhagwan is saying this in verse 12. Verse 13, Bhagwan says to Arjun, O mighty Arjun, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for accomplishment of action. For any action in this world, 5 causes, they work together. Now Bhagwan is saying to Arjun that he should learn those from him. So unfortunately, whatever we do in this life, we think we are the doer, which is completely wrong. Now Bhagwan is going to elaborate on those 5 causes in the verse 14. Bhagwan says in verse 14, the place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul, these are the 5 factors of action. So what are the 5 factors of any activity or any action we do? They are the body. First of all, it's the body. And second is the soul, which is the performer. And third are our various senses: sight, hearing, speech, sense of smell, touch, etc. And fourth factor is various kinds of endeavor, or our hard work, determination, and lastly the super soul. So these 5 factors are the factors of action. So our body needs to be fit and healthy if we want to do something, and then it's our soul. Then our senses, they also have to be in good order, working order, and there are different kind of practices we'll have to do. We'll have to learn something, that is our endeavor. And then finally super soul gives the sanction. So the word adhishthanam in this verse refers to the body, and therefore, and the soul within the body is bringing about the results of all the activity, and therefore it is known as the karta, the doer. The soul is knower and the doer, stated in the Shruti, Esha hi drishta srishta. This is from Prashna Upanishad 4.9, and also confirmed by Vedanta Sutra. Jno ta eva 2.3.18, and karta shastra vatvat 2.3.33. So the action is performed by some instruments are there who are carrying out this. They are the senses, and by the senses the soul acts in different ways, various ways, and for every action there is a different kind of endeavor or different kind of we have to try in different ways to do each action. For example, if somebody wants to cook something, there's a different kind of action involved. And if somebody wants to play something or get perfect in some kind of skill, for example, woodwork or any other, for example, plumbing, etc., they will have to learn the actions. There's a discipline to it. They'll have to practice the ways how to master that. And for every action there's a different endeavor, and each activity depends upon the will of the super soul, who is seated in the heart of each of us, as it is sitting as a friend. Super soul is the Paramatma sitting in our hearts. So Supreme Lord is the super cause, and under these with these 5 factors, any activity is done. So when we start thinking that yes, I am the doer, we are only one part of the doer, and ultimately all 5 have to come together so the activity is done. So everything depends upon the will of the super soul, the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Verse 15, Bhagavan says, whatever right or wrong action. So in other words, we can say that the jiva or the soul desires, Ishvara sanctions, and Prakriti, it executes. Prakriti or the nature, it executes. Verse 15, Bhagavan says, whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind or speech is caused by these 5 factors. So all the wrongs and rights done by our body are performed by these 5 factors, and nothing can be done without these 5 factors. Verse 16, Bhagavan says, so one who thinks that he is the only doer and not considers these 5 factors is not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. So the body is the place, senses, then super soul, endeavor, and soul is the and soul as well. So one should not think that the only 4 material causes, but the supreme efficient cause as well. So although the material causes are the place, worker, the endeavor and the senses, the final cause is the supreme. So a foolish person cannot understand that the super soul is sitting as a friend within and conducting his actions. His means our actions. Verse 17, Bhagavan says to Arjun that one who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. That, Lord is again telling Arjun that the desire not to fight, Arjun's desire not to fight, is arising from the false ego, because Arjun is thinking himself to be the doer of the action. He is not thinking about the supreme sanction which is coming from within, from the Paramatma or the super soul, within and without, and he does not know that. So if you don't know that the super sanction is there, then why should you act, isn't it? So one should know that the instruments of work, himself as the worker and the Supreme Lord as the supreme sanctioner. So we should think that we are just the workers, and the supreme sanctioner, or the supreme power which is sanctioning, is the Lord. And is, if we think like that, then we are perfect in doing everything. Then we are not in any kind of illusion, godlessness, or lack of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada gives a very nice example that when a soldier kills under the command of a superior officer, he is not subject to be judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by a court of law. Verse 18, Bhagavan says that the knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the three factors that motivate the action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the three constituents of action. So three kinds of things they impel us for our daily work: the knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. The instruments of work, the work itself, and the worker are called the constituents of the work. And any work done by any human being has these elements. So when we are doing something, there is some kind of impetus behind it, and that is called the inspiration. And if we are able to find some kind of solution before work is actualized, is a subtle form of work. Then the real work takes place. That is in the form of action. So first we have to undergo the process of thinking, feeling, and willing. So we think about doing something, then we feel in a psychological way, thinking by feeling, and then when we are willing, then action is done. In verse 19, it's about the doer and the knower. According to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge: action and performer of knowledge. Bhagavan says to Arjun, now hear from me. So in the 14th chapter, we read about the three modes of material nature. They were described, and it was said that the mode of goodness is illuminating, mode of passion is materialistic, and the mode of ignorance is conducive to laziness and indolence. And all the modes are binding us to this material world. None of the modes is liberating. Even the mode of goodness, one is supposed to be conditioned, is supposed to be under the illusion, working under the illusion of Maya. And in the 17th chapter, Prabhupada reminds us that in the purport that different types of worships were described, that the men in different modes, they how they have faith in different ways. They execute, they have the different kind of faiths due to the some predominant mode acting in, because one of the modes is a dominant in their life. So in verse 20 now, which is the final verse today, for today, it is about when Arjuna is told by Bhagwan that knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. So everyone has got a same soul, but including the animals and even the trees, but the amount of covering on our souls is different. So a person who can see soul in everything as similar, same, whether it's a demigod, a human being, animal, bird, beast, aquatic, the ones living in water, or a plant, they possess the knowledge in the mode of goodness. So spirit soul is same, bodies are different according to the work in the previous life. And in the 17th chapter, the manifestation of the living force in everybody is due to the superior nature. Is described that that the living force is due to the superior nature of the Supreme Lord. That was described in the 7th chapter. So when you can see the superior nature, living force in everybody, that consciousness, then you are seeing things as in mode of goodness. And we know that the energy, it never finishes, it continues. Even the bodies, they finish, the soul carries on, and differences are perceived in terms of the body, how the bodies they look like, because there are many different forms of material existence, as was mentioned at the beginning of this verse, that bodies are of various types. There are trees, there are plants, there are animals, there are human beings, and even the demigods, Devi Devatas. Bodies are all they're all perishable. They all come to an some kind of, but the only permanent force is the living force, which is the soul. So when one understands this, they can understand what is the real goal of life. The real goal of life is to work for the Lord and do the devotional service for the Lord. We're practicing this here so that one day we might be able to reach there after perfecting this, and we can serve the Lord eternally in His abode. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.